Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of How to Be an Athlete, where we're going to dive further into how we can train to become a better athlete. Now, if you haven't seen part 1, I will leave a link in the video description, and I highly encourage that you take a look at that video before we jump into the second video. And the reason for that being, as we move down the ladder in terms of these training concepts, we don't want to completely forget, what we've done in previous videos or different training cycles. So as you take these training concepts into your own lives, we don't want to stop doing the exercises or concepts that we talked about in the previous video. So as we move on to this, this phase 2, this building muscle phase, we don't want to completely stop doing those part 1 or those phase 1 exercises. We want to decrease the volume that we're doing those and shift the emphasis towards building muscle, but we still want to be doing them. So just something to keep in mind. Take a look at that first video. Now, talking about this second concept or the second phase, building muscle. So why is it beneficial for athletes to build muscle? Simply put, as an athlete increases the cross-sectional area of their muscles, they increase their capacity for strength and then increase their capacity for power. So if you build muscle, you can become stronger. Once you become stronger, you can then become more powerful or express that strength as running faster or jumping higher, as long as we're training the right way. Now, we can obviously, think about building muscle. Everyone's mind's probably going to go towards, that bodybuilder type of physique. I think that's a very obvious example of someone who has built muscle, gone through a lot of muscle gain. But, are we really going for that? That is one end of the spectrum. We want to think a little bit on the other end of the spectrum, however, that speed athlete or that athlete who wants to run fast and jump high. Obviously, they're going to still have muscle mass as well, just not to the same extent that a bodybuilder would, because there are two different, different athletic goals or training goals that they're going for. So for the sake of, building muscle as a speed and explosiveness athlete, we want to think more, towards that second end or that lower end of the spectrum, not going, for that big bulky type of physique. Now, I like to then view it as not just as, muscle gain or how much we can bulk up, but more as improving our ratio of lean muscle mass compared to our body fat. And, that's the reason why that part 1, getting in shape training, is so important. If we had done that correctly and we built and worked on building that metabolic base, we should have already started to decrease our body fat. And shifting the emphasis towards this building muscle phase is going to further improve that ratio. As we continue to decrease our body fat, we're going to now build muscle a little bit more, improving that ratio. So think about building muscle, not so much as how much I can bulk up, but can I improve that ratio of my lean muscle mass versus my body fat? And that's going to put you in the right frame of mind and kind of get you going on the right path. Now, how do we do that? How do we build muscle in a way that we're going to be able to utilize athletically? Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do my bench press, my deadlifts, my squats, kind of that stereotypical old school type of training. Now, I want you to kind of think about or ask yourself this question. Am I trying to get better at lifting weights, or am I trying to build muscle and get stronger? Because there is a difference. Now, if you're that bodybuilder or that strongman or that power lifter type of athlete, then yes, you're going to have to get good at bench pressing, at squatting, deadlifting, power cleaning, whatever you're training for, you're going to have to do that weightlifting movement. But if you're a speed athlete or an explosiveness athlete, if there's a better way to get stronger without having to focus, so much on those heavier types of movements, that would be a mindset that you want to be in. Is there a better way for me to do it? And it turns out that there are alternative methods to that old school type of training. And that's what we're going to dive into right now. Now, talking about this concept, VRT, or variable resistance training. I'm going to leave some links to some articles in the description of this video as well, and I highly encourage that you take a look at those articles. Now, what VRT is, or what variable resistance training is, if you've ever seen someone put bands or chains on a bench press or a squat, that is variable resistance training. The resistance that your body has to overcome varies depending on how far the implement is away from your body in a bench press, or how high off the ground you're coming in a squat example. And I think VRT, variable resistance training, is a very good way for people who maybe have never done that type of, or that old school type of weight training, or you've done that old school type of weight training for a sport in the past, you've taken a long gap and now you're trying to get back into it. Those types of people I think VRT is really good for, because it is a very safe and effective way to build muscle. Now you'll see in the studies that it's been proven, the athletes and the people that use the variable resistance training, they build muscle, they increase their strength, they increase their power. And this type of training is safer than that old school stereotypical type of weightlifting. There is a decreased joint risk. There's a decreased risk that you're going to hurt your joints. Now, anyone out there who has maybe had a bench pressing injury, you probably know what I'm talking about. Chances are, if you've hurt yourself bench pressing, you've hurt your shoulder. If you've hurt yourself squatting, you've probably hurt your back, or you've probably hurt your knee. Now, the reason for that is when we are utilizing a heavy weight in our weaker range of motion, so this part of a bench press, the bottom part of a squat, our muscles are actually at a mechanical disadvantage. So you look at that bench press, my pec muscles are really stretched out. They're at a mechanical disadvantage to try to contract and get that bar off of my chest. Now, with that said, once our muscles are in a mechanical disadvantage, you're going to have to rely on your joints to try to get that weight moving along with those weaker range of motion muscles. So once we get up through that range of motion, we then get into a position where the joint is a little safer and the muscles can take over because they are now at more of a mechanical advantage. Now the problem is, if we're in this position and we get hurt, then it doesn't matter once we get up there, we're already injured. And variable resistance kind of takes advantage of that fact, the fact that as you go up and your muscles get more at a mechanical advantage, that is when the weight increases. So when your joints are safer and when you can use more muscle and your muscles can handle more, that is when the resistance increases. So in terms of how to do that, you can do the examples that we talked about: throw bands on a bench, throw bands on a squat, on a deadlift, or chains. There are also a lot of really good training tools out there that focus on this variable resistance. So in your research and you're looking through the articles, I would highly recommend you try to research some of those training tools as well, and maybe invest in one for a home gym. It's like I said, I think it's a very safe and effective way to build muscle versus that traditional old school type of approach. Now, we don't want to completely, get rid of weights. I think weights still have a valuable part in training, but we want to change our mindset of how we use them. I like to view variable resistance training more for developing muscles and weights more for developing your tendons. So if we shift that emphasis, I think you're going to get more out of it. So don't think about, lifting let's use a squat as an example. Don't think about trying to do a max effort heavy full range of motion squat for your muscles. Think about lightening that weight up to something that your muscles can definitely handle, but that will be challenging on the tendons and ligaments, and going through that full range of motion, that full, deep knee bend squat, trying to, emphasize building your tendons and ligaments. You're going to get more out of it, and you're going to, decrease your risk of getting injured. So when we talk about variable resistance training and weightlifting, like we said, variable resistance training, great for muscles. Weights, great for tendons. Variable resistance training, decreased joint risk. Weights, going through that full range of motion, with a lighter, medium intensity weight, is going to be good for those tendons and ligaments. Talking about volume, so variable resistance training, especially in this type of training phase, and for this, kind of population of people trying to get back into weightlifting, or trying to just pick up, or I shouldn't say weightlifting, trying to build muscle. A higher volume early on is going to be beneficial. So we're not going for super heavy weight. We're not going for super heavy bands that are going to, only allow us to get 3 to 5 reps. We want to pick something that allows us to get 10, 12, 15 reps for maybe 3, 4, 5 sets. increasing that volume, increasing the amount of reps you do is going to help you build muscle, and it's also going to, kind of build that mind-muscle connection between your brain and your muscles, which is also going to be very effective moving forward as we then start to get stronger and then express that strength as speed and explosiveness. And when it comes to weights, since we're already going to be working the tendons and ligaments with that variable resistance training, we don't want to do as high of a volume because we don't want to overwork the tendons and ligaments. Your tendons and ligaments will respond to resistance training like muscles do, but muscles recover faster, so a little bit more efficient with their recovery. So we don't want to overtax the tendon and ligament training. So after we've already done a high volume of VRT training, we want to do maybe a lower or medium volume in terms of weight training for those tendons and ligaments. We'll talk about that a little bit as we move on to this next concept. So what types of exercises should I do? There's social media is a blessing because there's millions of different exercises you can pick from. Social media is a curse because there's millions of different exercises it feels like that you can choose from. So how do I find like what's the most effective way? What's the most beneficial way or types of exercises and movements that I can do, to build muscle in an effective way? And early on, especially in a phase 2, building muscle type of phase, I like to say think primal. No matter how elaborate an exercise is, or how elaborate or fancy it may look, chances are it can be boiled down to one of a few different categories. If we're talking about the upper body, it can be boiled down to a push or a pull. So it could be a horizontal push like a chest press, it can be a vertical push like a shoulder press. It can be a horizontal pull like a barbell row or a TRX row. It can be a vertical pull like a pull-up or a lat pull down. So no matter what type of exercise you're doing for the upper body, it can usually, in terms of compound movements, be boiled down to one of those categories. When we're talking about the lower body, two-legged movements can either be a squat or a hinge. So a squat speaks for itself. A hinge is your RDL deadlift type of pattern. Now we can also talk about single leg lower body movements. And chances are your single leg lower body movements can either be classified as a lunge or a step. So a forward lunge, a reverse lunge, a lateral lunge. For the step variation, a step up, a step down, a lateral step down. So again, no matter how elaborate an exercise looks, it can be boiled down for the lower body to one of those categories. When we're talking about the core, the core can really be, boiled down to stabilizing or carrying. Your core muscles were meant to stabilize your spine. They really weren't meant for sit-ups and crunches or leg lifts. They were meant to resist movement. So if we can view our core training as, trying to hold our core or hold our body from different positions, in your front planks, in your side planks, in your pad-off presses, and that is really going to be beneficial for you as an athlete. Obviously, we're then going to, move on into that more explosive type of core training. Obviously, there's different types of athletes. A baseball player, a lacrosse player, volleyball players have to have that rotational power, so there is core movement there. But we want to focus early on, primal movements, stabilizing the core, stabilizing the spine. So how do we kind of tie, those primal movements into our variable resistance training and our weight training concepts? When we're talking about our bilateral movements, our two-arm pushes, our two-arm pulls, and then our two-legged lower body movements, our squatting, our hinging, or our deadlifting. I like to really use variable resistance for those bilateral or those two-arm or two-legged movements. So if we're talking about maybe hooking up bands to a bench, doing 4 sets of 15 VRT bench press, and then maybe we set it up for a shoulder press, getting thinner bands, 4 sets of 15 for a shoulder press, and then use the same type of concept for maybe a bent over row, attach bands to a bar, 4 sets of 15 that way. So again, variable resistance training for those bilateral movements. Then we can incorporate our weight training more into those unilateral lower body movements. So focusing on a lunge, holding light to medium weight dumbbells that aren't really straining our muscles too much, but are working our tendons and ligaments. And we're going through that full range of motion lunge. We're trying to lunge as far forward as we can, trying to bend that knee as much as we can. On a step up, trying to utilize a step or a bench that allows us to get that full knee bend. So utilizing that concept of working and utilizing weights to strengthen our tendons through full range of motion, while also incorporating into a workout with variable resistance training. So, that's the best way that I've seen to incorporate, those variable resistance training, those weight training methods into our primal movements. So, a lot of concepts that we talked about in this video, but if you take all of it kind of one step at a time, it's going to be very beneficial for you to throw this into a training cycle. So, hope you like this video. Stay tuned for the next one where we're going to talk about making muscles strong. Again, take a look at that first video. Once we've digested the concepts of this one, we'll take a look at that third video. Can't wait to see you.